Hello, 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 and welcome back to My Purple Song Home. Thank you for joining me. This is the last day of the month. Let that sink in. This year is moving by so quickly. But great things ahead. Last week was brutal, but it was brutal in a good way. Some great things are happening for me, and I will share as soon as I get out of this month. I want to stick to topic. This month has been Mental Health Awareness Month, and I would be lying if I said I had not been affected in my life by depression or anxiety or things that can contribute to mental health issues. And as you know, on my channel, I like to talk about life instances that I've gone through and things that I did to help me get through certain situations. And so that's why I'm here. That's why you're here. FYI, I have no degree in therapy. I don't even have a certificate in life coaching or any of that. I'm just speaking from experience. And so I'm just so very glad that you have been rocking with me this whole month. And you know I've had a guest contributor to this topic of relationships. Because to be honest with you, that's where some mental health breakdowns can come from, and that's with relationships. This last video of the month is actually a topic that I held off to the last one on purpose. It kind of like just sums up the whole month. And I think it's one of the most important ones we could have all month long. Today, we're talking about healing yourself before you jump into that next relationship. Because if we're being totally honest, a lot of us do not heal. We move on. We move on to that next relationship. We move on to work. We move on into distractions or situationships. That was mine. But we just keep ourselves busy without really truly healing ourselves first. Healing is a completely different thing. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that time will heal our wounds. I don't know how many times that I've heard that. Time does not heal anything. Time exposes things. Time reveals. Time uncovers. And if you are trying to heal, that is intentional work that you have to do on yourself. It requires that you sit down with uncomfortable feelings. It requires you to ask yourself the hard questions. It requires you to be honest about the things that hurt you, the things that triggered you. And even sometimes it requires you to sit with what you might have contributed to that relationship. Because a lot of times when relationships end, people do not deal with that pain. So they immediately look to something else that they can focus on. Eventually, those unresolved hurts, those wounds, those trust issues, those insecurities, they have a way of showing up again. And it's usually in their next relationship. And I am a strong believer in, from experience, is that you need to spend less time looking for the replacement and more time dealing with that hurt and pain. So today we're gonna have a real conversation, no judgments, no expert, only an expert in life because of what I've gone through. Just two people, and yes, I did say two, I will be joined by my ex again. Just two people sharing their experiences, lessons learned, mistakes we've made, and hopefully some wisdom that will help somebody out there today. Let's talk about it. All right, so I am here with, you don't want me to call you the ex, so I'm just going to call you Jay.
Thank you.
Your name, okay, whatever.
Appreciate
All right, so let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that people actually heal after relationships, or do they just find distractions?
I think it's a little bit of both. Social media has really played a major part in, not I want to say perpetuating, but really pushing the narrative in terms of healing, as far as healing is concerned. Like, that's really been a major thread on a lot of social media posts that I've seen over the years. And whether people are adhering to that, that's one thing. But I think it's a combination of both. I think we are seeing people, again, that are taking advantage of a lot of the tools that's out there in terms of helping people heal. And then I just think there are some people who are just honestly afraid to really address a lot of the problems that they dealt with, which is why we have this cyclical level of behavior that we see from people jumping from one situation into the next, and having this, reoccurring theme of failed relationships because they're not, allocating the proper time to address, the wounds that they sustained in, previous endeavors.
Why are people so afraid to be alone? So I've noticed a lot of people would rather be in a relationship than be by themselves. I know a million people like that. I could name some people right now that are in relationships because they do not want to be alone. So why do you think that is?
I mean, being in a relationship is a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of people are just enthralled with the fantasy of that. And some people become extremely codependent, with having someone there on a day-to-day, right? And for a lot of them, it's a very jarring thing for them to be alone, after, the dissolution of a relationship. However, we all know how problematic that is. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just that fear of thinking that you're going to live the rest of your life by yourself. Again, the comfort of having someone. And the scary part about that is people choose to stay in relationships, be it abusive, verbally, physically, whatever. And I don't know what it is about people stepping outside of that and saying, hey, there's something better on the other end of that. But I'm like you, I know a lot of people who would much rather just stay in the situation, not give themselves a chance to see if there's something out there better for them. And I think it's just that, that spirit of fear that the devil inserts in them that allows them to stay in that space, knowing that they shouldn't,
Have you ever done that? Have you ever looked back and been like, I wasn't ready. I should have been by myself, but I got into it anyway. Have you ever?
And we talked about this on a previous episode where, when our relationship came to an end, I definitely did not do my due diligence in terms of waiting. I really, looking back, I know for a fact I should have waited. And again, as we mentioned before, like a lot of the tools a lot of the mentality that I have now, I didn't have back then. So for me, yes, there was that level of comfort of having someone, but I knew it was at my own detriment. So, again, in hindsight 20, I definitely should have just given myself a much needed long break, because again, here I am, I'm trying to reconstruct and deconstruct almost 10 years of being with you. Mm-hmm. And, that required the level of credence that it deserved, in terms of, again, unwinding this big ball of yarn that was entrenched with, LaToya.
Ooh, don't say my whole name.
My bad, I had to use the government. So, again, I quickly segued into another endeavor, and I think that ultimately in some capacity led to probably some things that probably could have been avoided had I just waited, did the necessary work, before I gave someone else, that kind of responsibility,
Do you think it's harder for people to be alone rather than facing what they did, or facing just why they can't be alone, period?
I mean, that's hard to say. I think it really depends on the egregiousness of what it is that caused them to leave. I think that varies, but again, listen, it's hard being, on these, as my dad say, these four consecrated walls.
Yeah.
And having to really, really deal with yourself when you're so accustomed to having someone there.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, and I'll just use you and I, and that was a really big gaping hole. A large part of my adult life was spent, daily with someone else. And then when we severed ties, again, I had to really, really, truly, really do some deep diving and looking inward, and the deafening of that silence of not having that partner there on a daily basis, regardless of what transpired, again, was, a very, very jarring thing for me to, wrap my head around. So again, I think, in digressing, there's a level of comfort, again, that we've all had with having a partner, and that silence, if you're not ready for it, man, the silence can be loud in itself. But yeah, I think sometimes it's just really depends on the situation.
So I will speak for me. I think that a lot of time when there is a breakup, it does reveal things about you that you didn't know. Like with us, it did prompt some insecurities that I had, some fears, some things I was trying to avoid because they were uncomfortable to face. So that I do believe that it is hard for some, if you're like me, it is hard for some to face themselves. That's why they jump into something quickly. I wasn't like that. I didn't jump into anything. I had my fun, but I didn't jump into another relationship. That won't gonna happen. But it did reveal some things to me, and after I had my fun, I did have to sit with that because it was quiet. No. I mean, it was just, I had no choice but to deal with it. Why are you laughing? What is so funny?
Well, I mean, because, and again, I'll this, one of the things that, a lot of the things that is being revealed with things, and again, we've never had this discussion, that we've never really talked about a lot of this stuff. So a lot of these things that I'm hearing is like, wow, I didn't realize that, some of the trajectories that your life took.
Oh, child, I could tell you some things. I literally had a mental. Like, seriously, it brought out a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was so insecure until we broke up.
I never would have known that, T. I never would have known. Because, I mean, again.
So take for instance, the reason why. Like, I mean, yeah, we broke up because I felt as if we were on a path to nowhere, but it came out that, you had done what you did.
Right.
And that brought out so much inside of me that I had no clue was there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me feeling insecure about other women that might be attached to my boyfriend or whatever. It was my looks. Like, I went down a whole path that when I was younger, I thought I had squashed. This is not going to be a therapy session.
Right.
But yeah. Oh yeah. It brought out so much when we broke up. But that's why I feel a lot of people don't sit with themselves and just take care of that before they jump into something new.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Well, I would say a large part for me too. I think something that should be highlighted. Like, I would say my entire life I've been in relationships. I didn't know what it looked like to not be in a relationship. A lot of my dichotomy was associated with with an individual. So, it was kind of normal behavior for me to, I would say maybe take somewhat of a small break, but just go from one situation to the next. If I'm being totally honest with you, I had no idea my previous relationship was going to become what it was going to become. Yes, it ended up manifesting itself to be a relationship, but I didn't go out there with the idea of thinking that I was going to meet somebody and it would become a thing. It kind of just organically morphed into that. But yeah, I've always just kind of been associated. So I think it was just repeated behavior that I was exhibiting and why I kind of landed into that. But like I said, hindsight 2020, I would have done myself and her, justice if I just really just would have took a pause. And I see that all of the time. Like, I have so many friends and it just boils my blood, and people that I've had conversations with, I'm just like, man, like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you not, giving yourself the time that's necessary to break these strongholds, that my mom would say, or another word that we use, in our Christian community, soul ties. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are, if we're really looking at it from the spiritual realm, those are some of the things that definitely bonds us and holds us to situations that we shouldn't be in.
So people will swear up and down that they've healed. They ain't healed. They ain't healed nothing. Because what does that even mean? What does healing actually look like to you?
For me right now, I would say the operative word that I would use that gets again thrown out in the stratosphere is peace, man. I have a different level of peace that I haven't had in a while, and that is derivative of a lot of things. You know what I mean? I mean I can get into copious details, but that's what it looks like for me. Just peace. I'm not chasing after anything. I'm very, very methodical in terms of my movement now, because I'm playing a totally different ball game that I'm playing a different ball game now that I wasn't playing back then. Every decision that I have has weight, has merit, and these decisions are going to, take me, to a different place. And I think me understanding that, has helped me, move in a different, in a different way that I haven't before. But I would definitely say, without question, wholeheartedly, man, it's peace, man. You know what I mean?
How do you know that you're actually healing and not just getting over someone?
You have to know yourself. You know what it looks like when, you were in the space where like something easily triggers you. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. I give myself grace, and I think it's important to know that, because when we say healed, we just feel like, this cloak comes over us, and we're just impervious to any and every fiery dart that gets thrown our way, and that's not realistic. Healing is being able, to not only, manage certain things that tends to come our way, but we're able to see it, we're able to recognize it, we're able to process it, in a way that we haven't before, and it still does not derail us or chart us from the path that we're going forward. There were times like, the smallest things would totally knock me off, my trajectory, even with us, I will say this to you, even though I may have, it was a while, before, well, it's somewhat of a while before I moved in, to my next endeavor, like, there were little things that would definitely trigger me when it came down to you and us, because again, you were so ingratiated in my DNA. And
not your DNA.
Yeah, man. I mean, literally and figuratively. but all of that.
Let's keep it G.
That part. But I mean, all of that. And fully digressing. Like I said, we spend an exorbitant amount of time together, almost a decade. You know what I'm saying? You don't just deconstruct that overnight. You don't just get rid of those feelings. But now, I'm in a, specifically when it comes down to me and you, I'm in a much different place. Yeah, I can have these conversations and it doesn't feel that way,
So the one thing I do know is that when relationships end, people handle pain differently. Mm-hmm. Some people sit with it. Some people avoid it. Some people throw themselves into work. Some people into another relationship. So, again, after we ended, I was in the streets. But, do you think people can heal immediately after being involved with somebody? Or is that just like a farce? Is that wishful thinking on their part that they all of a sudden I'm good?
Well, I've never been one to, I don't subscribe to the notion of overgeneralizations. I would say more often than not it's a farce. But I think you have some people that may process things quickly. I definitely am not one of those type of people. I love hard regardless of what did or didn't happen. I love hard, but I would say to that question, no, I don't. I think more likely than not.
I was about to say, I don't think people can get over stuff. They suppress it. If they do feel happy-go-lucky afterwards, I think they're fooling themselves.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I would agree.
If you have any kind of heart, then no.
I mean,
some people are cold.
I mean, you have some people that are, and again, I think that's derivative of a lot of different things they may have experienced. There may be anomalies out there. Again, there's some people that just process things a little bit differently. It may look different for everyone, but I would say overall, the vast majority of us, no, man. Like you said, if you got any heart, that's going to take time. Yeah. And it definitely took time for me. I'm like you. I had some holding the picture nights. You know what I mean? I was one of the people, like, I throw myself into fitness. That's always been, my avenue when I'm dealing with something, of that magnitude. Like, fitness has always been my go-to. It's never failed me in that regard.
All right, so let's talk about baggage. Because if we don't heal, what we gonna do? Exactly. So, but when people hear the word baggage, they automatically think of an ex. Mm-hmm. Because that's all I hear on the single circuit is what kind of baggage does someone have with them. But baggage can mean something totally different. Because baggage could be stuff that you're carrying from your childhood.
Yeah.
It could mean the trust issues you have, the fear that you have, any amount of things. So one of the things that I've learned is that growing up with inconsistent love, never really knowing what version of someone that you're going to get. A lot of us carry these wounds into adulthood and they don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can contribute to what they bring into the next relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We think we're reacting to our partner, but sometimes we're reacting to their past.
Yeah.
We think we're upset about the text message that wasn't returned, the canceled plans, the disagreements, the misunderstanding, but often those are touching a wound that already was there long before you even entered the picture.
Absolutely. I agree.
And when those wounds go unhealed, they become filters. We start seeing people through different lens of pain instead of through the reality of who they are. I am thinking of someone when I'm saying this. Someone who experienced abandonment may constantly fear being left. Someone who experienced betrayal may struggle to trust even when trust hasn't been broken. Someone who grew up feeling rejected may take every disagreement personally. I know several people like this. That's why healing to me is so important. Because if we don't address the baggage we're carrying, we'll eventually ask other people to carry it for us. And that's the weight no relationship was ever meant to hold.
Agree.
What's something that you think people carry into relationships without realizing it? If you have anything extra to add.
I mean, God, there's a elaborate, there's endless choices that you can extract from that, in that statement. My God, like you said, abandonment, some people may have dealt with things, sexual abuse.
Yeah.
God, the list, goes on and on. I think that is probably singularly one of the most consistent issues that plague most relationships. Something that occurred that they're holding on to that they cannot relinquish. We see it more often than not. I don't know anybody that's not a byproduct of that. You think about our parents and some of the things that they dealt with, growing up, not even necessarily from a relationship aspect. Think about what they visually saw.
Right.
And how that had an effect on their psyche and how they, translated love, whether to their kids or whether to their partners. God, there's so many different ways we can go into that.
Now, I know the answer to this question, but do you think that people are aware of their triggers?
Oh yeah, I think there's some people. I think most people are cognitive of that. I would say most. I think some people that maybe are oblivious to it, but I find that so hard to believe. I think that there has to be something a lot more deeper there that is shielding them from seeing that light. But I think most people, operative word, most are cognitive, to things that jolt them. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about what a lot of people may deal with, and that is cheating.
Cheating?
Yeah.
Jeez. I should know.
But well, listen. I don't think, as we know, that there is just one reason why people cheat.
Of course.
I think it's a deeper issue underneath why people do the things that they do.
Agreed.
So, from your perspective, what do you think people need to understand about cheating that doesn't get talked about enough?
If I had to point out one thing,